Thank you very much for joining us once again on Money Matters. I am Folashade Ogrinde. Latest figures obtained from the Central Bank of Nigeria shows that the country's external reserves depleted by $180 million in 2 weeks. According to the figures, the reserves, which stood at $33.28 billion on July 1, dropped to $33.09 billion as of July 12, before gaining slightly to $33.1 billion on July 15th. Meanwhile, at the just concluded 19th OPEC and non-OPEC ministerial meeting, member countries have agreed to increase oil output by an initial 400,000 barrels per day. This decision could help increase Nigeria's oil output from about 1.4 million barrels per day to 1.8 million barrels per day. But the question really is, could this help improve Nigeria's dwindling foreign reserve? Joining me to discuss this further is the senior economist at SPM Professionals, Mr. Paul Alaje. Thank you very much for joining us. Now let's begin with the country's external reserves, which the CBN says depleted by $180 million in just 2 weeks. How did we get here, Mr. Alaje?
Well, thank you so very much for having me, and good morning. Actually, we got to this point because more than ever before, our taste for imported commodity continues to increase. When you read the report shared by National Bureau of Statistics, it shows that more than 80% of all imports are finished products, evident in PMS, evident in all manner of things that you can imagine. Nigeria continues to do less than 20% of manufacturer good imports and input imports. So because we want to buy foreign commodity, either we are buying online or we are buying and it's coming through our terminals in Lagos or in One, wherever it may be coming from, the truth is that most of the imports into Nigeria today are finished product. And all of these will be having impact on the foreign reserve. Because ladies want to use woman hair, because men want to buy foreign suits, we even want to go for medical checkup abroad. You see, all of these expenses together that we anytime we say we want to travel, all of these are going to have direct impact on foreign reserve. So, but that's on one end. The other leg is, what do we have for the other currencies around the world to demand for the naira? 90% of all exports in Nigeria, not my figures, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, 90% of our export, and what is responsible for those is purely crude oil and gas. Crude oil is responsible for 70 to 80%, while gas is less than 20%. The remaining exports, all the disseminate, seeds, name everything together, they are accountable for less than 10%. So that will worry us because we are truly not contributing knowledge to the world. So that's why we got to this point. You know, research, I give you an instance, over 300 billion naira in 1 quarter, Q1 2021, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, is what Nigeria imported on vaccination. And this has nothing to do with COVID. We are talking of polio and so on and so forth, that Nigeria continue to import from countries such as Denmark. Meanwhile, we have researchers, we have scientists in Nigeria. Unfortunately, we have not been able to produce a single syringe that we could use to vaccinate our people locally.
Now, definitely, this point you've made is something that has been on for a very, very long time now. But given that OPEC had capped the nation's oil production to only 1.5 million barrels per day, how much of an impact do you think the increase in production output by 2022 would have on the nation's finances?
Well, for OPEC increase, we cannot clap with one hand. What influences revenue and what goes to foreign reserve is both demand, is both quantity and price. So we also need to say that other things being equal, if the increase and price remain the same, which hardly is the case in recent time, we can say it will have positive impact. However, if quantity increase and Nigeria is exporting more, but price remains, price goes down, then I wonder how that will impact us. So beyond this, let's even assume both quantity and price increases at the same time, which is very rare, because of the laws of demand and supply and law of economics. Let's assume the two increase at the same time. That will mean we are going to have more revenue. But remember that we cannot control this exogenous variable. What happened to global oil price? And why have we reduced? Why are we not even selling 20 million barrels a day? Because when we do that, we cannot control both demand side and supply side. Price will respond by going down. But more importantly, this is the point. Even if we are sending everything to the rest of the world, that will still not solve our challenge. In the short term, or medium term, we might see some level of improvement. But what we need as an economy, as a country, is export promotion and import substitution. This is what authority must do something about. And I'm here to see one country that have achieved optimum level of export promotion and import substitution without getting the fundamentals correctly. What is the fundamental? The foundation of all fundamentals is getting energy correctly, which is power, which is refining petroleum locally, and also human resources. When you don't get this fundamental correctly, which is energy, I am sorry, we might even have Nigeria taking out 200 million. We only need to wait for the next financial crisis in the cycle, in the economic cycle, then we will still be back on our ground.
So recall that the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, in the 2022 to 2023 NTEF FSP paper, had projected a crude oil output of 1.88 million barrels per day. Now, will this enable the federal government achieve other parameters, especially in inflation and revenue?
This is not the first time federal government will come with a strategy paper of projection of 1.8, 1.9, 1.6, 1.7. We have always seen all of those. The question is, have we been able to achieve in revenue our projections? I'm afraid the answer is no. Most of the time, when we project we are going to sell 1.8 million per day, we are unable to achieve this because of insecurity, concerns around Niger Delta, global oil prices, etc., etc. So this economy needs to move away from oil dependence. So even if we achieve that, yes, in the short term, we are going to see results. But I'm even afraid that in the last 6 years, and before this administration, to be honest, a lot of government have had such similar projection. But have they been able to meet up? The answer is no. Even if you meet 1.8 million barrels a quarter, when it gets to second quarter, there could be vandalization in Niger Delta, and all the projections are bad. So, as they say, talk is cheap. To put 1.8 million naira in our fiscal strategy paper, is talk. How are we able to achieve it, which is the concern? And I think the Minister of Finance and, as a matter of fact, those in the executive, federal and state, should start thinking about what is the alternative that is true and genuine alternative to petrol. The world is moving away from fossil fuel. As a matter of fact, Europe had announced the escalation, growth, and an expected reduction, of production of a fuel-based engine in all European countries. What will be the fate in Nigeria? Recall that Nigeria is currently building the largest refinery in Africa. Now that some part of the world is even saying no, should we not be focusing on gas? And our gas, compare with, say, petroleum now, it's just about 20%. This should be attention of authorities. This should be attention of the ministry. Gas usage will continue for a relatively long period of time, because fuel generation, fuel consumption to a large extent is not clean enough, particularly for those who are concerned about green energy and cleaner environment, etc., which I think we should all be concerned about. So it's a huge concern. Even 1.8 million barrels per day still shows our energy and our interest in being concerned, still being fixated on what global oil prices is saying.
Now, Mr. Alaje, you made a point about unprecedented, events. Now, if for any reason there is an unexpected situation, just as we saw in 2020 when we had COVID-19, now would Nigeria be in any more economic trouble, or if at all that happens, how or to what extent do you think Nigeria would even be able to recover from such?
Well, you don't need to look far. If you look at Niger Delta, when Niger Delta agitators goes back, which we are hoping they will not, is going to have tremendous impact on the economy. If Lagos, quote and unquote, I'm just giving you a scenario, says there will be no access to the ports, I don't even know how we are going to export crude oil in the first instance. So that's a huge challenge. We have seen what happened in 2007 financial crisis, which of course had tremendous impact on Nigeria, even though Nigeria did not go to recession at that time. But in 2016, we were unable to escape it because of global oil prices. 2020, we were unable to escape it. And I can tell you that the way the world is going now, there seems to be shock, there seems to be bursts in every 5 years, 4 to 5 years. And the way you can know, many Nigerians may not remember, but compare the impact on the exchange rate. Have we had in the last 15, 20 years, any 4 or 5 years that we have not seen a major devaluation on Naira, a major increase in pump price? You can look at the president, they have done 4, some have done 8. President Obasanjo, we had the impact, he has his own fair share. During President Yar'Adua, we had significant, some level of reduction. President Jonathan came, there was back-to-back impact on exchange rate and also on pump price. President Buhari is also having his own fair share. What it means is that wanting to say you want to get different results and you keep committing mistakes that those before you have committed is a sign of insanity. For me, authority have spoken about diversifying this economy, and we are yet to see tangible results in government revenue and sources for development of Nigeria, either through either through partnership with public and private. For me, what I would want authority to consider is, if you spend 20 years to rehearse madness, when are we going to practice it? Diversification should go beyond lip service. It should now become what authorities should do something about. And I hope that in the coming period, we will see fresh energy and new energy from government authorities regarding truly diversifying Nigeria's economy.
Well, certainly, Mr. Alaje, a discussion on crude oil prices and output would not be complete without touching on other key economic issues. But we'll take a pause here, and when we return, Money Matters continues. Do stay with us.
Corruption not in my country.
Hello? Yeah, I found your wallet in front of a supermarket. Meet me at Apple Junction. Yes, I'll be waiting for you.
Now we find out. 2 of us.
Thank you very much, officer. It's surprising that men like you still exist in the police force.
Yes, so...
Oh, yes.
This is just a token of my appreciation.
Oh, no, you don't need to do this. We're only doing our job.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
You're welcome.
Now I know police is really my friend.
Yes.
Friend. Hey. Okay, which game was with this one? I don't understand.
You know your problem. You are greedy. I'm a policeman who is doing his job. All forms of corruption in the force. Not in my country.
Corruption not in my country. Corruption not in my country.
Hello. Alahaji. Right now I'm in Abuja. No. Hello? Adamu. Right now I'm in Kano. Yes. When I get back, I will just call you. Look, what is wrong with you? I'm talking on the phone and you are gesticulating and doing. What's wrong with you?
Daddy, where exactly are we as we speak?
Are you alright? This is Lagos.
Well, you just lied to someone that we're in Abuja.
Keep quiet. Who told you you can tell an elderly person is lying?
Daddy, you just lied. And by lying, you're raising corrupt children for the future of Nigeria. That is corruption, not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we've been discussing the impact of OPEC's decision to increase oil output by April 2022 and how that would help the nation's depleting foreign reserve. Paul Alaji has been my guest. Thank you very much for standing by. Now, Mr. Alaji, I recall the last time we had a discussion on the drop in inflation rate, you were a bit skeptical about the figures. Now, what do you make of the recent NBS report that inflation for June dropped to 17.75%?
Well, I must say that the concerns I have is not just about me. It's about a lot of people who believe that the continuous fall in inflation is not reflecting what is happening in the market. When you look at food inflation, even as at that period, the National Bureau of Statistics shared, it seems to be in the opposite direction. All figures shows that inflation is still on the rise, particularly food prices. And I understand that inflation may not just be with food, it is the average of consumer price index. So what we just need to discover is what component of consumer price index has decreased so much that is now averaging inflation and making inflation figures to come low. But when you ask me, I tell you that most of the figures that we have seen, rather than going down, they actually flat or on the increase. That is the concern we have. And I can also tell you that other journalists have concern and have asked questions, and I've told them that, yes, let us believe what National Bureau of Statistics is saying. There is a window of escape, and that window of escape is traceable to what the base year was. The efficiency, the potency of the year in May and June 2020, at that time, we have started seeing potential easing of lockdown. But June, yes, it was the easing happened more in June. So that's why you may say inflation coming to for 17.75% is allowable. But the truth is, when you look at the reality, the figures is doubtful. And that is what many Nigerians are concerned about.
Now, for the first part of the discussion, you mentioned something about diversification, which has continuously been projected as the solution to Nigeria's economic crisis. How would you rate government's diversification effort, especially in agriculture?
Well, agriculture is very important. Diversification into agriculture is what is good, but what part of the value chain are we focusing on? Agriculture has capacity to employ huge number of people, but when you say you are diversifying and you are just diversifying into primary, in the real sense, let me say what economics refer to as diversification. We have primary, secondary, and tertiary. Primary is crude oil because you are depending solely on the work of nature. It is primary. Agriculture, planting, according to National Bureau of Statistics, agriculture, particularly crop production, is accountable for about 20% of the nation's GDP. Crude oil, less than 10%, approximately 10% of the GDP. What connotes huge significance of our GDP is service. So no production is taking place in service. Co-production in terms of processing, manufacturing is what I mean by production. So, but when you say you want to diversify from oil-based economy, crude oil-based economy, evident in primary, evident in the work of nature, to agriculture, which is also primary, you have not diversified at all. What you have done, you have moved from one sector within a segment of economy to another sector within the segment of an economy. And that's why we are not having the impact. Has government done a lot in agriculture? Yes. We have seen rice revolution, if you ask me. We have seen government through anchor borrowers program, quite a number of things government has done. But because agric itself has its own limitation, rice production today, concerns of many millers has been, how do we have access to paddy? Paddy access to paddy is a major challenge. So while you are having increase in the number of millers around the country, paddy seems to still be a thing of concern. So for me, if you want to diversify, we should diversify away from primary to secondary. And I can give you instances of countries. Germany has the largest population in all Europe. Germany, you don't hear about German farms or German oil. You hear about German machine. That's for production. China has the largest population in the whole Asia. You don't hear about German farms. You hear about German production capacity. United States of America is the largest not just in America but the entire Americans. So, but for North and South America, let's stay with North America, where America has the largest. What do they focus on? Production or manufacturing or farms? The answer is they are more into production and some element or significant proportion of ICT. Leave America, go to Brazil. Brazil also has significant proportion in production. So Nigeria in Africa, the fact is that the whole world has made Africa to believe it must be on farms. And I don't believe so. There was a time China was told that lie. There was a time where quite a number of, even India was told that it has to produce for the rest of the world to be prosperous. But if our farmers will, to a large extent, remain peasant farmers, and apart from peasant farmers, we will now see what we produce is what we have to eat. Life is not by bread alone. The world has gone beyond just production for eating. We can now talk about production that we serve as input for our factory. That is when 3.3% unemployment figures, according to National Bureau of Statistics, could be significantly reduced. That is where underemployment, 22%, 22.8% by National Bureau of Statistics will also be reduced. And more importantly, 53.4% youth unemployment. That is when that can come down significantly.
Now, finally, Mr. Laje, with lingering issues such as insecurity in Nigeria, what are your projections for the remaining quarter of 2021 and 2022? Basically, what do you think about your future projections for these years?
There is no economy without security. The foundation of all economy is that economic activity can happen in a secure environment. I flip the coin. You cannot have security in an economy that is not sustainable, in an economy that is not prosperous, in an economy that is growing less than the GDP growth rate. Example, Somalia. Example, you can look at what is happening around the world. Countries that have economic challenges, sooner or later, you start seeing crime in such country. So what authority must do, particularly politicians and those in the heads of affairs, economic policy maker and decision maker, quickly, they need to come together and find a solution that will have two ends. One for security, to end insecurity, which is now spread all around our country from north to south to west to east and the center. At the same time, such solution must be creating jobs, because what matters the most is jobs. They said an idle hand is a devil's workshop. In devil's workshop, what you see there is not hoes and cutlass for farming. What you find in devil's workshop is destruction, domination, and destruction. That's what devil has. And that is what we are seeing. Zamfara, a number of people that have been kidnapped. We have seen conflicts going on in southeast, southwest. We have seen terrorists and bandits, if you like, ravaging larger proportion of the north. This is because many people in those regions, and not my figures, National Bureau of Statistics, if I just remind you, 53.4%, which means out of 10 of your colleagues, more than 5 of them are unemployed. Out of 100 of your colleagues, about 53 of them are unemployed. You know what I mean? So that's a concern. You cannot have population of people. Unemployment figure in Nigeria, youth unemployment is more than some countries' population. How do you have a country where nobody, not even the head of the country, has a job to do? I think until we're able to do that, then we can say that we can start talking about economic prosperity or having economic growth or having some level of solution that can help our country come out of current economic quagmire. But if security is not solved, using economic model to solve it, I'm afraid gunboat security using military, which is fine, but military is even saying we need to provide some level of economic comfort for people within the country. So, and that is what authority must do. And I think that's what the attention of government should be going forward.
I will certainly hope that the federal government, implements some of these decisions or advice given by economic experts such as you. But it's been a very robust conversation. Senior economist at SPM Professionals, Mr. Paul Alaji, thank you very much for your time and your contributions. I need to wrap on the program. Thank you for watching and bye for now.